Larry, Joe, good to see you. Thanks for being here today. Larry, I know that under court order you have to be here, but Tony's here under his own free will.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to give back.
That's right. I appreciate that.
Am I allowed to speak yet?
It's the Girl Scout motto.
Is this the time when I speak?
So let me just start with the serious stuff because I want to get that out of the way. The thing that I thought was interesting about Biden going to Israel is when I was in the White House, a domestic trip would have taken days to turn around. Like if the president said, hey, I want to go do this, there were some ways around it. There's some ways that the Secret Service would permit it. But the idea of going into an active war zone with a number of days, I think is frankly risky. He wouldn't go to East Palestine, Ohio, but he can force his way. And I also thought, by the way, just to throw this out there, it was interesting because Zelensky of Ukraine had wanted to go and they said he can't come. But they're letting the president of the United States. I get it. Tony Katz, what do you think about how this has all gone down?
Well, I think the Zelensky one made perfect sense to me. If you're Volodymyr Zelensky, you can't handle it all, the attention not being on you and your war. And there's reasons for it of ego and reasons for it of security. You want to tie yourself as much as you humanly possibly can to what's going on in Israel, what's going on with Netanyahu. So of course you want to be there because you want to say your fight is our fight and our fight is your fight and play that kind of game. Israel has a different point of view, which is, yeah, we got to take care of this thing. You figure out your own stuff. So I understood the Zelensky thing. And look, I will hit on Biden for every bad thing he does. And even though he gives this very strong speech about having Israel's back, the proof will be in the doing. I don't believe him at the quick because I don't believe his party, which is filled with, as I say it on radio many times, with Jew haters. I mean, there is a massive part of this squad and other parts of this party. There's a serious anti-Semitism issue. But if you're the president of the United States showing up in Israel, it is in and of itself a strong statement. And for everything I could take away from Joe Biden, I don't think I can take that one from him.
But Larry, I want to say this. I get it. Going there, I will give the president, look, President of the United States, it's risky going there. It shows, as Tony said, a sense of solidarity. We stand with Israel. Symbolism matters in these moments. And I will give the President of the United States credit for this. But I will say that a lot of the reason that we're in this is that they tried to pacify Iran. They didn't believe. I mean, you saw Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, a couple of weeks ago saying there's been no time in the last, couple decades where we have had such peace in this region. And it's where I've spent the least amount of time. They took their eye off the ball. They empowered Iran. And now they're basically like, hey, we're going to go solve the problem.
Yeah, that's right. And listen, the optics may be great for him. And maybe he's trying to create B-roll for his presidential campaign next week. And yes, of course, it matters that he's there. But, if he had a solid track record, he wouldn't need to fly halfway around the world to show that he has solidarity with Benjamin Netanyahu and the people of Israel. It would have been a given. It would have been a no-brainer. But the fact of the matter is he cannot remove himself from his policy and from his personnel, which, as you know, Sean, is policy. And the fact of the matter is he financed through $6 billion of fungible money that was given to the Iranian regime, who's funded Hamas and Hezbollah for the last several decades. He let this happen through that financial assistance, period. End of story. And he can't remove himself from that. And to take up Tony's point, on 60 Minutes this weekend, Biden repeated that same trope that he keeps saying, that this is not your father's Republican Party. Well, guess what? This ain't your father's Democratic Party, because Harry Truman was the first world leader to recognize the state of Israel. And I'm pretty sure that Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all the academics and professors who love supporting the Democrats, they wouldn't agree with Joe Biden's Democrat Party of the 1940s.
Tony, the thing that I think is interesting is prior to these barbaric attacks that Hamas launched in Israel, the narrative around Biden was his campaign is stuck. The donors aren't happy. The establishment's not happy. He's too old, Democratic. And once this happened, the media literally just started talking about how great he was doing, his response. They've ignored all of the stuff leading up to it. It's this, I believe, is the media's way of propping up Joe Biden and showing, despite what you think, he's ready to go. And the thing that I was thinking, because I just real quick, is that when he forgotten, whatever, that trip to Pueblo, Colorado, they said it was to stay back and to deal with national security issues. Now, I've been in the White House. I've traveled with the president. You can take the White House wherever you want. They can meet on the plane. To suddenly suggest that he had to stay there to oversee this was nuts. Okay. But my point is,
I want to know where you saw that the press was saying he's doing such a great job. I mean, they're always lying and you see it better than most, but I swear to you, I have not seen that story.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think, look, every time that I turned on the television show, I was like, President Biden continues to show strength when it comes to this. He stood and it's sort of like they're propping him up to show that last night a couple nights, whenever it was that they announced this trip, they started saying this is going to be risky for him. It's tough. It's like they're doing the job of the White House comm shop, talking about how tough he is, how decisive he is. The night that he gave the speech, when he came out 4 days later, 4 days after hosting a barbecue and spending a weekend being interviewed by the special counsel in the classified documents case against him, he finally comes out. And the immediate reaction by the media was, wow, what a speech. He showed Israel what a strong partner we are. And I'm like, dude, you didn't take Netanyahu's call for 6 months, and now you're the strong partner?
You explain well why this show matters, why Larry's radio work and work over there on Twitchy matters, the stuff that I do matters, because how could you possibly rely on these people telling you that Biden comes across strong? Let's go back to the very beginning. It took 12 hours for a statement from the White House, from the key ally of Israel. 12 hours. And you got to wonder whether they were actually weighing the idea of, hey, Israel needs to show some restraint here.
Yep.
They didn't realize the barbarism that had taken place, the rape of women, the setting people on fire. They had to wait for that to come in before they knew that, oh, maybe we can't say that. 12
and also
hours.
On your
you
show,
say to me that's
Tony,
not long. That's a ton of time.
Little prop here, but I know you've been covering this about the intelligence failure, right? So they deleted a couple tweets. I mean, these guys for 4 days were like, hey, what the heck happened?
They were for 4 days, maybe what the heck happens. And maybe Larry, because he's in D.C. and has a little more insight in this than I do. But I think for 4 days, they were trying to figure out what do we say to not piss off too many of our own side.
Right.
I think that was the argument. And I think that is played in a much bigger way with certainly people on the right and really independents than the idea of Biden showing a lot of solidarity here.
So, Larry, what Tony's saying, I think, is so fascinating. I don't think it's getting covered enough. For 4 years of the Trump administration, it was you can't be on both sides of this issue. You have to condemn everything that is wrong, whatever. And yet, these guys, all of the people that are siding with Hamas, with the barbaric acts that they have taken, the killing, the rape, the torture, the kidnapping, are all on the left. And yet, we don't talk about where those people, it's just, there were protests at a school, at a college campus, outside the White House. It's not just, if this had been folks on the right, it would have been extreme right-wing, MAGA-loving people. Donald Trump supporters are doing this. This time it's random people showed up